Hello everyone, I am Mr. Sunil Kumar from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, AJIT, Mangalore, AJ Institute of Technology, Engineering and Technology, Mangalore. I am teaching you the course Finite Element Analysis. The course code is 17ME61. Until now, we have completed all the 4 modules. Now, remaining the fifth module, the last module, we are dealing with. This is the second video in module 5. You can consider it as video 2.1. In the last class, we have learnt about the basics of axisymmetric elements, and also we have learnt about the shape function of axisymmetric element, to be particular the triangular element. This is the lecture 2. So let us deal with the the stiffness matrix of a axisymmetric triangular element in this lecture 2. What I mean by stiffness matrix? Stiffness matrix is the matrix which will control the equilibrium of the system, as we have studied in module 2 for bar element, which is the basic element, 1D element. Stiffness of the element controls the displacement. So we have learned equilibrium equation is given by stiffness into displacement is equal to force applied. Stiffness, the notation is K into displacement. The notation usually we have used is Q. K into Q is equal to F, the force applied. So stiffness plays major role in structural problems against the forces applied. What is stiffness? Stiffness is the resistance of the structure or a member against deformation or displacement of that node against the external force applied. Here in FEM we talk about displacement of the node, means nodal displacement. Now what is stiffness? Now stiffness is elemental actually. Elemental means stiffness is considered for a particular element, not for a node. So stiffness is the resistance of that element against the displacement of the nodes, the resistance of the element against the displacement of the nodes, when the nodes are subjected with external forces. Once again, I tell you, resistance of the element against the displacement of the nodes when nodes are subjected to the external forces. Okay, now we have dealt with stiffness of number of elements. Now we shall study about stiffness matrix of axisymmetric element. What is axisymmetric element? Once again, I will just brush up. Axisymmetric element is an element as a 2D element. Axisymmetric element is a 2D element. It's a 2D element. We can see the 2D triangular element which is used to analyze the 3D structure in which a symmetric axis can be used. Okay, we have learned already. This is a conical structure having a hole in the center. This is a cylinder. This is a hollow conical structure. So this is the bottom circle. This is the circle which is drawn at the center. This is the top circle. So an element can be taken in such a way that all the 3 nodes of the triangular element touches each of the circles. When I rotate this triangular element 360 degree about this z-axis, which is known as symmetric axis, then this triangular element is known as axisymmetric element. Usually axisymmetric element is 2D in nature, and I can rotate this 2D element to cover the entire surface area of the 3D element. So 2D element taken to analyze 3D structure is called as axisymmetric element. This is the axisymmetric element is provided. Now we have understood what is axisymmetric element. Now we are going to derive the stiffness matrix for axisymmetric element. To be particular, axisymmetric triangular element. If I take axisymmetric triangular element, the triangular element will have three nodes. The triangular element will have three nodes: node 1, node 2, and node 3. So node 1, node 2, node 3, this entire triangular element is taken in a global coordinate r and z. So here r is the radial direction, z is the longitudinal direction. R is the radial direction and z is the longitudinal direction that we should take care of. Okay. Now, if I take this triangular element, I can take in r direction, z direction. One more direction is theta. Because I am rotating this element, that one more direction will be theta. Okay, that theta is not considered because whatever the values we are dealing with, we are analyzing with, whether it is stress, strain, displacement, or any solution that is independent of the uh, circumferential direction theta. Okay, there will be values, but it will be constant throughout any magnitude of the angle taken in the circumferential direction. That is why circumferential direction is not considered, which means only r and z are enough to specify the degrees of freedom of this element taken, which means the element taken is 2D, boundary condition assumed are 2D, loading conditions and support conditions are two-dimensional, that is only in r and z direction. The values of stresses and strains can be found in any direction, but however r and z direction are more important. Displacements are found in r and z directions, and also force vectors, body surface force vectors, body force vectors, everything is found in r and z directions only. The theta direction is circumferential direction is neglected. Okay. Now, as I told, the coordinate values of node 1 is r1 and z1. The coordinate values of node 2 is r2 and z2. The coordinate values of node 3 is r3 and z3. r1, z1, r2, z2, r3, z3 are the boundary condition parameters of the node 1, node 2, node 3 respectively. There are no other boundary conditions such. So what are the other, suppose if I consider displacement at those boundaries, at the node 1, node 2, node 3, then displacement at node 1 is u1 and w1, displacement at node 2 is u2, w2, displacement at node 3 is u3, w3. Displacement at node 1 is u1, w1, displacement at node 2 is u2, w2, displacement at node 3 is u3, w3. Okay. Now, u1 and w1 are the displacements, nodal displacements in radial and longitudinal direction. u2, w2 are the displacement in radial and longitudinal directions. Similarly, u3 and w3 are the displacements in radial and longitudinal directions. Now, we have understood about this concept. We have to derive stiffness matrix. Before going to stiffness matrix, we have to derive the B matrix. B matrix means the strain displacement matrix. Strain matrix is different. Strain displacement matrix is different. Okay. After because using this strain displacement matrix, we will derive stiffness matrix for a axisymmetric element. What is strain matrix for a simple bar element? It is strain displacement matrix for a simple bar element is 1 by Le minus 1 1. 1 by Le minus 1 1 is the strain displacement matrix for a simple 1D bar element. Here it is little different because element is 2D triangular plus it is a axisymmetric triangular element. There is difference between a normal triangular element and axisymmetric triangular element. So before going to derivation of stiffness matrix, we will derive the strain displacement matrix. Strain displacement matrix. Then we will derive stiffness matrix for axisymmetric triangular element. Okay. Let us consider the assumptions, the preliminary conditions and assumptions. Okay. U1, W1, as I said, are the nodal displacements at node 1 in radial and longitudinal directions respectively. U2 and W2 are the nodal displacements at node 2 in radial and longitudinal directions respectively. U3, W3 are the nodal displacements at node 3 in radial and longitudinal directions respectively. Radial means R direction, longitudinal means Z direction. So there are the nodal displacements at node 1, node 2, node 3 in R and Z directions, means radial and longitudinal directions. Now U means the displacement at any point over the element. U1 W1 are no at node 1, U2 W2 at node 2, U3 W3 at node 3. Whereas U and W are the global displacements at any point on the element over the element with the coordinate values of R and Z. U and W are the global displacement at any point over the element at any point over the element with the coordinate values R and Z. Let us consider any point over the element with the coordinate values R and Z. There the radial displacement be U and the displacement in longitudinal direction be W. Okay. Now the nodal displacements are expressed in, these are the global displacements. Similarly, nodal displacements at node 1 for radial direction will be A1 plus A2 R1 plus A3 Z1. Here I have taken A1, A2, A3 to as the generalized coordinates for the displacements in radial direction. Similarly, the same A1, A2, A3 are the generalized coordinates to describe the nodal displacements in radial direction, but here R1 and Z1 are the coordinates of node 1, that is why it is used for U1. Similarly for U2, U2 is A1 plus A2 R2 plus A3 Z2, where R2 and Z2 are the coordinate values of node 2. This is the radial displacement at node 2. Now similarly U3 is the radial direction displacement at node 3. So this is given by A1 plus A2 R3 plus A3 Z3. A1, A2, A3 are used for describing the radial direction displacements. R3 and Z3 are the nodal coordinate values of node 3. Similarly, W1, W2, W3 are the displacements in longitudinal or axial directions, where A4, A5, A6 are the generalized coordinates used for all the three, W1, W2, W3. W1 is having the coordinate values R1 or Z1. W2 is having the coordinate values R2 and Z2. W3 is having the coordinate values R3 and Z3. Now we have also derived the relation between this global displacement and the nodal displacement. The relation between the global displacement at any point over the element with respect to the nodal displacements in the same radial and longitudinal direction at three nodal points, node 1, node 2, node 3, okay, is determined with the help of the shape functions. Here the global displacement U is n1 into U1 plus 0 into W1, n2 plus n2 into U2 plus 0 into W2 plus n3 into U3 plus 0 into W3. That is why U does not depend on W1, W2, W3. U only depends on U1, U2, U3 with respect to n1, n2, n3. Similarly, W is equal to n1 W1 plus n2 W2 plus n3 W3. So I have used three shape functions. There are three shape functions which are used to determine the global displacement values when nodal displacement values are known. Suppose means if I know the nodal displacement values, I can find the global displacement values by these shape functions. So we have derived shape functions for a number of elements. Okay, but shape function for triangular element is different. Particularly, shape function for axisymmetric triangular element is very different. Okay. Now, as I told, U is equal to n1. U1 is missing here. Please make a note. U is equal to n1 U1 plus n2 U2 plus n3 U3. W is equal to N1 W1 plus N2 W2 plus N3 W3. Okay, E1, which was supposed to be typed here, is mistaken by typed at this position. Please correct this. Okay, now we have to derive strain displacement relations. We have to derive strain displacement. Now this is the very important concept. Whatever I have told until now is already learned in the last class. So to derive the shape function, this is very important concept. So please listen carefully. As I told, there are four stress components. At the same time, there are four strain components. I am deriving strain displacement relationship. That is why I need the expressions for strain. I need the expressions for strain. So what are the different strains? Radial strain. Radial strain is epsilon r. The strain of this is the strain of any point, that's the global point considered for the element epsilon r. I have not written epsilon r1. I have written epsilon r means global strain. Strain at any point for the element. I am deriving globally now, not nodally. It is given by du by dr. Du by dr, where u is global displacement of that point considered. R is the displacement radial direction. So displacement in radial direction. Okay, which means the strain in radial direction due to load applied in radial direction is epsilon r. Okay, strain in the displacement in radial direction du due to load applied in radial direction, load acting in radial direction is epsilon r. So we know that u is equal to n1 u1 plus n2 u2 plus n3 u3. U is equal to n1 u1 plus n2 u2 plus n3 u3, which is isoparametric formulation. So that is why we can write this u can be written as n1 u1, which I have written n1 u1 plus n2 u2 plus n3 u3. Now I will not differentiate u1. I will not differentiate u1. I will differentiate n1 with respect to r and multiply by u1 plus n2 with respect to r and multiply by u2 plus n3 with respect to r and multiply by u3, which gives the value of strain. This is the global strain of any point over the element. If I know the nodal displacement value, I know the nodal displacement value, I know the nodal displacement value at all the three nodes. Okay. Now if I multiply those nodal displacement values with the derivative of shape functions and the isoparametric addition gives the value of strain in the radial direction. Similarly, epsilon z is dw by dz, means displacement in longitudinal direction, where epsilon z is longitudinal strain. So epsilon z is given by displacement in longitudinal direction with respect to the load acting in longitudinal direction. Okay, the longitudinal displacement due to the load acting in longitudinal direction is the longitudinal strain. This is the global value. So this can be found when nodal displacements are known. Nodal displacements are w1, w2, w3 in longitudinal direction or axial direction. When derivative of shape functions are multiplied, that is dn1 by dz into w1 plus dn2 by dz into w2 plus dn3 by dz into w3, this nodal displacements multiplied with the derivative of the shape functions and the addition of isoparametric formulation gives the expression for, or gives the value of, the strain occurring in longitudinal direction. Okay. Now we have circumferential strain. We did not consider circumferential displacement. Okay, please listen carefully. Displacement, for displacement analyzation, we did not consider circumferential direction. We did not write displacement with respect to theta. Okay, but we wrote only displacement in radial and longitudinal direction. But using this radial and longitudinal displacement values, we can find circumferential strain. We can find circumferential stress. Okay, circumferential strain and circumferential stress can be found, which are constant with irrespective of the value of theta. Irrespective of the value of theta, they are constant. Okay, now it is u by r. It is just u by r, not derivative of anything. It is just u by r. Okay, it is just u by r. U by r means where u is what, n1 u1 plus n2 u2 plus n3 u3. So n1 by r into u1 plus n2 by r into u2 plus n3 by r into u3 gives the expression of the circumferential strain epsilon theta. Epsilon r is the radial strain, epsilon z is the longitudinal strain, epsilon theta is the circumferential strain. At the same time, I told you there is one more strain, shear strain, which may be the cause of failure in most of the cases, depending on the type of structure, loading, and the constraints provided. So shear strain gamma rz, this is taken with only r and z directions. No shear strain is considered with theta direction, r theta, r z theta is not considered. That is why, as I told earlier, there are only 4 strain components instead of 6 strain components. The shear strain, there is only one shear strain component with respect to r and z directions. Now it is given by displacement in radial direction due to load acting in longitudinal direction plus displacement in longitudinal direction due to load acting in radial direction. The summation of the displacements in a particular direction with respect to the load acting in the other direction, the transverse direction. Okay, that strain is called as the shear strain. This is the shear strain globally taken. This is the shear strain globally taken at any point over the element. Once again, u is what? n1 u1 plus n2 u2 plus n3 u3. W is n1 w1 plus n2 w2 plus n3 w3. Here dn1 by dz into u1. Z is longitudinal, but u1 is radial displacement. dn1 by dz into u1, dn2 by dz into u2. If z is longitudinal, displacement is considered radial. Similar, dn3 plus n3 by dz into u3 plus dn1 by dr into w1. You see, r is radial, w1 is longitudinal, that is multiplied with longitudinal. Okay, dn2 by dr into w2 plus dn2 by dr into w3. Okay, this is about the 4 strain components and their expressions with respect to the coordinate values and the shape functions considered. That is why shape function does not only give it is used to find the global displacement values, but it is also used to find the global strain values, global stress values, everything. Okay, now the same above 6 equations can be written in the matrix form as like this. Can be written in the matrix form as like this. The same 6 equations can be written in the matrix form as 4 equations, sorry, as like this. You see, 4 strain components. So 4 rows. Since I have 6 displacement components nodally, in nodal u1 u2 w1 w2 and then u3 w3, 6 displacement components. That is why this size of the matrix is 4 cross 6. I have 4 strain components but 6 displacement components. Therefore, the size of the matrix is 4 cross 6, where n1, n2, n3 are the what? shape functions, and we know the value of shape functions. Okay, this we have derived earlier. Now to simplify, we have to differentiate n1 with respect to r, n2 with respect to r, n3 with respect to r. Similarly with respect to z, with respect to z. All these values we will simplify and substitute back again this matrix, which will give the expression for strain. So dn1 by dr is equal to beta by 2a. I will just show you. If I differentiate n1 with respect to r, I will remain with only beta 1 by 2a. If I differentiate n1 with respect to z, I will remain by gamma 1 by 2a. Okay. So differentiate n2 with respect to r, it will be beta 2 by 2a. Differentiate n2 with respect to z, I will remain by gamma 2 by 2a. Similarly, if I differentiate n3 with respect to r, okay, or I will remain by beta 3 by 2a. If I differentiate n3 with respect to z, I will remain by gamma 3 by 2a. So if it is, once again, if I n1 with respect to z, all those things we know that n1 by r, what is n1 by r? Entire this thing divided by r, it will be gamma 1 by r plus beta plus gamma 1 omega 1 alpha 1 by r plus beta plus gamma 1 z by r. Okay, like that. So n2 by r will be alpha 2 by r plus beta 2 plus gamma 2 z by r, like that. Okay, so we have to find those expressions and substitute back in this matrix. So this is dn1 by dr, dn2 by dr, dn3 by dr. As I told, all these expressions with respect to z, and dn1 by dz will remain with only gamma 1, dn2 by dz will remain with only beta 1, dn3 by dz will remain with only gamma 2, dn1 by dr beta 2, dn2 by dr gamma 3. So above equations are differentiated with respect to whatever the denominator of differentiation is given. n1 by r, as I told, n2 by r, n3 by r. So make the correction. This is n3, this is n2. Make the corrections, please. After substituting those values, 1 by 2a is written outside. Okay, 1 by 2a is written outside. Beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, gamma 1, gamma 2, gamma 3. Similarly, so you have to make a little correction while you should be careful while calculation. So I have written epsilon r, epsilon z, epsilon theta, and gamma r set, and the respective values, and I have multiplied with this. This is what? This is strain matrix. This is strain matrix for a axisymmetric triangular element. This is strain matrix for a axisymmetric triangular element. Okay, this is what epsilon, the overall strain can be represented as epsilon is equal to b. This entire matrix is b into global displacement. This is u, this is u. Okay, okay, b into u. U is the nodal displacement values. So this b, which is the center term, which is mentioned here, that b is called the strain displacement matrix. That b is called what? Strain displacement matrix. That b is the strain displacement matrix. Okay, so this is very important matrix to derive the stiffness matrix. Actually, this is very important to derive the stiffness. Now we should understand what is gamma alpha 1. Alpha 1 we have already earlierly derived, r2 z3 minus r3 z2. Okay, alpha 2 is this is derived earlierly. So if derivation is asked for more marks, this concept of considerations, this consideration which is used in shape function n1, n2, n3 should be shown in the earlier part of the derivation when it is asked for more marks. Okay, sometimes it will be asked for 20 marks also. You should be able to show. If it is asked for 16 marks, 15 marks also, we should able to derive this, which we have derived in derivation of shape function. Okay, now the stiffness matrix is given by integration of 0 to a r dr dz into b transpose into d into b. We have derived B matrix, that is strain displacement matrix, into transpose of that matrix into material property matrix. Material property matrix is given here. D is equal to E by, it is the material property means it depends on the Young's modulus, the property of the material, and plus Poisson ratio, which is also the property of the material. E by 1 plus nu into 1 minus 2 nu. Once again, you see this is 4 cross 4 matrix, not 6 cross 6. We should be careful. This is 4 cross 4 matrix. 1 minus nu, 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 nu 1 minus nu, 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 nu 1 minus nu, 1 minus 2 nu by 2. This is the D matrix. D means material property matrix. So if we multiply this, we will get the stiffness of the axisymmetric triangular element. So multiplying everything is little cumbersome. So you should take considerations, the initial considerations of axisymmetric element, come up to here, and you should be able to express this. This is taken from, actually this expression is taken from the potential energy equation. Potential energy equation as usual, which are taken in the bar. So at the end, there are different ways to solve this problem. You have to tell that. So the stiffness matrix can be found by numerical integration method, that is Gauss quadrature method. It can also be found by explicit multiplication and term by term integration, because it's a huge multiplication. Three big size matrix you have to multiply, or evaluate B at the centroidal point of the element. This expression varies with the type of problem. Whatever the stiffness matrix we find, this will vary with the type of problem. That is why you have to mention at the end, these are the different ways of, by which the solution we can conclude with this equation, where D is this equation. So this is about the stiffness of the axisymmetric triangular element. Nothing more to derive. Everything is about explanation and notation, and all the statements you have to write perfectly. So this derivation is asked many times in the exam. If it is asked for more marks, you have to consider by the initial things, that is by considering the derivation of shape function also, and attain up to here. Whatever the question is asked regarding the derivation of axisymmetric triangular element, this is the way you have to attain. This is about the finite element formulation and the stiffness matrix of axisymmetric triangular element. Hope you have understood. Thank you so much for listening.